about Sadistic Intentions? What can we tell the audience who haven't seen it yet?
Sadistic Intentions is a story about a metalhead and sort of this unsuspecting woman that are invited to a home by a mutual friend of theirs, although they're there for very different reasons. And the reason why they are there turns out to be sort of much more than they asked for. So it's very much sort of plays into situations I think a lot of people have been in, where you show up to a party or a gathering of a mutual friend, and you get there and you don't know anyone. And you're sort of left to endure each other, which is awkward, especially if you're very different personality-wise. But through that process, you get to know each other for a bit, these two characters, and then the horror kicks in sort of about the halfway mark as all of that's established.
Yeah, it's great, and you know that first half is really interesting. Just watching you guys sort of play off each other. Just wondered sort of how much work was done sort of between you both as actors on those characters. Was that kind of all there on the page, or did any of it come from you guys kind of working on it together?
We cheated. We spent a couple of years prior to this script talking to each other and cohabitating, so we definitely had a little bit of an advantage.
Wow, okay.
Otherwise, though, we tended to stick to the script, but every day before we got into what we were going to be doing for the day, we would the three actors and Michael and Eric, we would get together and we'd talk about what we're going to do, and we'd do last-minute edits, and we'd be saying it out loud. We'd go, well, that kind of sounds a little like this, maybe if we said this instead. So the chemistry was borrowed, but it was fun to play like I didn't know him anymore. And I got to re-meet him again.
So just tell us that, sorry, so do you two live together,
yes,
did you say?
Yes, we have cats.
Amazing, I didn't know that. Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, cool. So how is that then, performing together on the film?
That was the first time we met acting, and this was our first time redoing it.
Right.
So it was a little scary. We're like, can we still work together? Can we still pull this off? And it got frustrating at points, and it got, it's like a relationship. It gets frustrating at points. Sometimes it's really great. Sometimes you're just like, well, this,
Are you bickering on set?
Just a little bit. A couple scenes, but it usually came from a place of we had to be frustrated with each other.
That's why I play counselor instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys.
Guys, cool it. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it kind of feels like a movie of two halves in some ways, which I really enjoy, because you kind of don't know where it's going. I just wonder, were you ever sort of concerned about that sort of, maybe as a genre film, the pacing of it, and will people stick with it for that first half?
Absolutely. From the time I thought of it to the time I wrote it, certainly not really so much while we were shooting it, but definitely while we were editing it, it was a matter of, this is a genre film, this is a horror thriller, in many respects, so is an audience going to like this? And I will say the thing so far with the festivals that we've played, which have been predominantly genre festivals, is that seems to be the one thing that people want to talk about the most, what people enjoyed the most. So I can say with full confidence that the thing I was the most concerned about seems to be what people are the most interested in.
Yeah.
They're talking about or just sort of responding to. Which, as a writer and director, that's like the best possible outcome.
You got that really great kind of opening scene that kind of sets it up for you're in for something nasty potentially. I mean, was that was that kind of partly to sort of establish, I suppose, what we're in for
bit,
as well?
I always think a lot about suspense and things like that, and I really wanted to lay all the cards out on the table in the front scene, so you know what's going on, and it's a matter of not if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when. So that's sort of like the narrative engine, a bit of the ticking clock, so to speak. So this guy could arrive at any moment. But I did want to establish it as a hard-edged genre in the beginning of it, and not so much just get right into them and then just wonder where it's going. I think I've received a bit of people saying that they forget they're watching a horror movie, which is great. I think you have a scene like that, and you can kind of forget about it and get into the two of them for a bit before it changes gears again. That's it's great to hear.
People have been. I've read there are comparisons to Before Sunrise, which is amazing, right? a kind of horror version of Before Sunrise.
Yeah.
Did you have any kind of specific influences or anything you took from in mind?
With that side of it, no. I love those movies. I had not thought of them. I can definitely kind of see where people are coming from. I do sort of consider it a romantic comedy for serial killers in some respects.
Nice, yeah.
Not that they are serial killers, but maybe a serial killer would enjoy it as a romantic comedy, wouldn't see it as a horror movie at all.
Yeah.
So I think, kind of looking at it through that lens, I think, I am a fan of romantic comedies, but there weren't really any I had in mind. I think it's just sort of hitting the beats of getting to know each other and just sort of playing off of experiences of, what do you do? Well, what do you do? In this case, it's very one-sided and leads to a very dangerous outcome. I probably had more inspirations from the genre side of things,
Right.
Like films like Black Christmas, or just sort of kind of has like a giallo setup in
Yeah.
some ways. There's some Italian imagery in there, just with the house and the stalking about and things
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, with the chemistry, it really just between knowing them and knowing what they could do, what they could bring of their real life to it, and what they would have to come up with as just great actors. I felt really confident in just putting the two of them alone for a good chunk of time.
Yeah, what was it like? What was the atmosphere like on set? Because I guess it's predominantly sort of single location, right, as well. So was it quite a nice sort of smooth process?
I had an excellent.
You're a better answer for
love
that than
that. Excellent experience, excellent crew, hard workers, and much like we borrowed some chemistry, Jeremy and I, that we had established. A lot of our crew came from the Glass Eye family, and we met because we were both Glass Eye interns, and we had several Glass Eye people in the crew, and Jeremy was a Glass Eye. We met because of Glass Eye. Everything's Glass Eye, and it's beautiful, and I love it that way. But just we were all staying together in one like little house, and we were all eating sandwiches together, and it was just a very, very positive experience. Of course, there are bad days. There is always the one catastrophically does not go as planned day. But otherwise, it was a hoot to shoot.
I wanted to hear your heavy metal scream. Didn't get to hear it in the
It
end.
was real.
That was real, yeah.
That one was real.
Yeah.
That was very cool. What was the movie saying about sort of metal music? What were you sort of saying with that?
I grew up playing in metal bands. That was pretty much what I did and all I thought I was going to do from 16 to 22 or so, being in the scene. And just, the first band I ever played in was a grindcore band that played in a predominantly Christian hardcore scene. So I've been pretty much hated from day one. the first ever thing I did. But I think there's, with this, it's a little bit different because, heavy metal is the narrative engine. It's sort of the thing that gets it going. But I do think that you could almost replace it for any other art form, a novelist, anything like that. And you sort of have a bit of a straightforward, like, cautionary tale. So I don't think that it says anything specifically about metalheads, but I do think, it's a different approach where most metal movies you've seen or metalheads in movies have your traditional leather jackets and spikes, but this is very different because these are guys that don't want to play live. They just stay in their bedroom. They don't have a real drummer. They program the drums, and I felt like that isolated personality would lend itself well to a situation where one of them's put up against someone who's very outgoing and puts a lot of herself out there.
Yeah.
To her detriment in some respects towards the end, but for me it felt like a film where you would have characters that just put a lot of themselves out there, which in return you would hope to learn something from them.